Hello lovely friends, I'm Aisling and of course you're very welcome here. I'm here as ever to talk about books, and today we have a special one because it's my October TBR, and this is great because I feel like this year I've been very much in a cozy kind of gothic kind of fantastical mood, and it's October, so of course a lot of the books that I'm planning or hoping to read this month are going to be a little bit spooky, maybe a little bit gothic, you know the drills. First things first, I will say I absolutely bombed on my TBR from last month. I will explain that in my wrap up video, so these are more like suggestions for me. I'm not gonna stick religiously to this list because my mood changes all over the place and I am nothing if not a mood reader. But with that said, we'll actually get cracking. So the first book I'm hoping to read is a middle grade, and it's by Kelly Barnhill and it's called The Girl Who Drank the Moon. So this one has been sitting on my shelf for actually a silly amount of time, and I've kind of been keeping it up. I hoped to read it last October, but I never got around to it. So this October, it's happening. I'll read the blurb for you. I think this sounds really sweet and I'm really looking forward to reading it. I've heard a lot of really good things about it, kind of on the booktube sphere. So every year, the people of the Protectorate leave a baby as a sacrifice to the witch who lives in the forest. But there's a plot twist. It's not the usual story. The witch Zan is actually a kind one. She rescues the children and delivers them to welcoming families on the other side of the forest, nourishing the babies with starlight on the journey. But one year Zan accidentally feeds a baby moonlight instead of starlight, filling the ordinary child with extraordinary magic. Zan decides she must raise this girl, whom she calls Luna, of course, as her own. As Luna's 13th birthday approaches, her magic begins to emerge with dangerous and thrilling consequences. So of course this, as I said, is a middle grade, so you just know it's going to be sweet, it's going to be fun, it's going to be an easy read, and I'm really looking forward to getting around to it. And again, with books that have been on my TBR for kind of a silly amount of time, we have The Witches of Vardø by Anya Bergman. And this is a historical fiction. I believe it's set in Norway in 1662 apparently, and it's sounding to me like a really feminist read. So it is about a time when women were being punished, to put it lightly, for being witches. I tend to really enjoy this kind of book, and I tend to enjoy books that are kind of set in this area of the world. I'm going to read the blurb because I feel like I won't do it justice if I try to describe the plot. So it's a dangerous time to be a woman when even dancing can lead to accusations of witchcraft. After recently widowed Sigrid's affair with a local merchant is discovered, she is sent to the fortress at Vardø to be tried and condemned as a witch. Of course she is. Sigrid's daughter Ingeborg sets off into the wilderness to bring her mother home. Accompanying her on this quest is Maurier, herself the daughter of a witch, whose wild nature and unconquerable spirit gives Ingeborg the courage to venture into the unknown and to risk all she has to save her family. Also captive in the fortress is Anna Rodius, once the King of Denmark's mistress, who has been sent in disgrace to the island of Vardø. What will she do and who will she betray to return to her privileged life at court? These witches of Vardø are stronger than even the king. In an age weighted against them, they refuse to be victims. They'll have their justice. All they need to do is show their power. I kind of really love books that talk about witches in general, or women being condemned as witches. One of my favourite books that I read in the past few years was The Mercies by Coran Millwood Hargrave. Really recommend that one as well. And actually her book The Dance Tree as well, not quite the same thing, but very much in a time when women were the lesser of the genders, etc. So I feel like this one is going to irritate me, but in a good way. I really like this kind of story. I don't think it's something that we should shy away from because it's absolutely part of our history, kind of all over the world. So yeah, that's that. And then the next one I am so excited to read, and it was sent to me by the lovely Maddie from As Told by Maddie. I will link her in the description box below. Please check her out. She reads a lot of horror kind of spooky books, which are perfect for this month. So if you want suggestions, I would definitely head over there. She's absolutely lovely, and for my birthday this year she sent me We Have Always Lived in the Castle by the ineffable Shirley Jackson. So I read The Haunting of Hill House last October, and I had watched the TV series on Netflix, which I really enjoyed, and I said I'd put it off a couple of years reading The Haunting of Hill House because I didn't want to remember too much from the TV series. But anyway, so last year, long story short, I got around to reading The Haunting of Hill House, and oh my word, I wasn't expecting it to be what it is. I expected it to mirror closely the TV show, but the TV show, the writers obviously embellished so much. The actual book is so pared back, it's so atmospheric, it's really gothic, it's really dreamlike. I loved it, and I really loved Shirley Jackson's writing, and I'm really looking forward to getting around to this book, which will be my second read of hers. So if you aren't aware of what this book is about, I'll read you the blurb. So, living in the Blackwood family home with only her sister Constance and her uncle Julian for company, Merricat just wants to preserve their delicate way of life. But ever since Constance was acquitted of murdering the rest of the family, the world isn't leaving the Blackwoods alone. And when cousin Charles arrives, armed with overtures of friendship and a desperate need to get into the safe, Merricat must do everything in her power to protect the remaining family. In her final, greatest novel, Shirley Jackson draws us into a dark, unsettling world of family rivalry, suspense, and exquisite black comedy. After reading Hill House, I feel like this is just exactly what I want to read right now. I have really struggled since July to put this off till October, but we're here, we're ready for it. This again sounds very much like something set in a building, in a home, in a house, and I'm really looking forward to it. I love books that are set within kind of claustrophobic settings like homes, haunted houses, that kind of thing. I don't know if this is supposed to be spooky as such, but I am buzzing for it. So thanks again to you, Maddie, for sending that on over. The next book. I have trawled bookshops for books by this author, and I always find them really difficult to find. And I've been after this book for so long. I didn't order it online. I was like, it'll be a lovely day when I find it in a bookshop. And this week in Dublin, in Hodges Figgis, I found Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. And again, this is a really gothic sounding read, and I'm so excited for it. I've heard so many great things about T. Kingfisher. I haven't read any T. Kingfisher books at all. This is going to be my first, and this is the blurb on the back. After years of seeing her sisters suffer at the hands of an abusive prince, Mara, the shy, convent-raised third-born daughter, has finally realised that no one is coming to their rescue. No one except for Mara herself. Seeking help from a powerful grave witch, Mara is offered the tools to kill a prince if she can complete 3 impossible tasks. But as is the way in tales of princes, witches and daughters, the impossible is only the beginning. On her quest, Mara is joined by the Grave Witch, a reluctant fairy godmother, a strapping former knight, and a chicken possessed by a demon. Doesn't that sound amazing? Together, the 5 of them intend to be the hand that closes around the throat of the prince and frees Mara's family and their kingdom from its tyrannous ruler at last. And one of the kind of blurbs from a fellow author, it was Alex E. Harrow, and Alex said, "It's funny, frightening, and full of heart." I loved it, and if you know me, you know I love books that are just full of heart and really wholesome. I love an adventure. I love found family. So this actually really genuinely sounds like something that will be right up my street, and I'm so excited to get to it just in time for spooky season. And then another one that absolutely needs no introduction. It's been on my shelf for a while. I got a secondhand copy, I don't know, maybe about 2 years ago, but I had just watched the latest adaptation. It was on Netflix. And again, I didn't want to read the book too soon afterwards because I felt like I would just remember everything, and I wanted to go into the story with a little bit left unsaid. So this one is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. Last night I dreamed of Manderley again. So working as a paid companion to a bitter elderly lady, the timid heroine of Rebecca learns her place. Life is bleak until, on a trip to the south of France, she falls in love with Maxime de Winter, a handsome widower whose proposal takes her by surprise. So whisked from Monte Carlo to Manderley, Maxime's isolated Cornish estate, the friendless young bride begins to realise that she barely knows her husband at all. And in every corner of every room is the phantom of his beautiful wife, Rebecca. So excited to get to this. So This is one I have wanted to read for years. I love, again, a book set in a very isolated, claustrophobic setting, a big house, really gothic. I'm not going to say any more about it because you've heard about this book, you know about this book. I've heard really good things. I'm so excited for it. The next one then is a book that I bought whilst I was in Belfast, one that I have been seeing doing the rounds on BookTube again. I believe it was published in 2006, so if you've seen my Belfast vlog, you will have seen me read the blurb on this video, but who am I if not somebody who will repeat herself a lot, so I'll read you the blurb. Angelfield House stands abandoned and forgotten. It was once the imposing home of the March family, fascinating, manipulative Isabel, Charlie, her brutal and dangerous brother, and the wild, untamed twins, Emmeline and Adeline. But Angelfield House conceals a chilling secret whose impact still resonates. Now, Margaret Leah is investigating Angelfield's past, and the mystery of the March family starts to unravel. What has the house been hiding? What is its connection with the enigmatic author Vida Winter? And what is it in Margaret's own troubled past that causes her to fall so powerfully under Angelfield's spell? Again, another one set very much in a house where the house is the character. It's really gothic. I've heard it's like Jane Eyre, but for people who don't read classics or who don't like Jane Eyre. So we'll see, but I'm feeling really optimistic about this one as well. Okay, so you've probably noticed so far that like the books that I am planning to read aren't necessarily scary books. They're just a bit spooky and a bit gothic. And the next two then that I have on my TBR are both part of series that I've been reading and aren't necessarily spooky at all, but I feel like they are quite autumnal reads. And it is September, it's late September, so let's get cracking. Okay, so I have been reading The Legends of the First Empire. So I read Age of Myth and Age of Swords, and now Age of War, the third book in the series, has come to me from my library, and if I don't read it soon, I'll have to send it back and wait for it for ages again. So I'm planning to read this month. I really enjoyed the first book, but I think I enjoyed the second book even more. I really love this story for how it centers women as not just the protagonists, but as the heroes, the heroines of the story as well. I read that Michael J. Sullivan actually originally wanted to just write a trilogy, so this book in many ways does feel like a finale of sorts, but he actually ended up writing 6 books, I think, instead. So who knows where this book is going to go, but I feel like there will be some big plot points being wrapped up. There will be a lot of things happening, going on. We'll see some stories tied up. I'm really looking forward to reading it. I won't read the blurb because I don't want to give any spoilers for the first 2 books, but if you like books that are quite pastoral, big adventures, lots of different POVs, lots of different characters, I think this is one that you might really enjoy. We saw in the last book the invention of writing, the invention of the wheel. It's very kind of twee in a way, but it's also like not particularly wholesome in that sense. Like it's not like Legends and Lattes or anything like that. It is like a proper fantasy book. It's a proper fantasy read. It's really engaging. I found the second book moved much faster than the first book, but I did really enjoy the first book, as I have mentioned. So I'm really looking forward to getting back into the world of Persephone and Wraith and Suri and all of those characters. So fingers crossed for this one. I have to read it. This will be a definite for this month. And then the last book on my October TBR, I have a lovely subscriber named Suzanne, and I know she'll be very glad that I'm finally getting around to this because I keep saying that I'm going to read it and haven't read it yet. And it is the second book in the Farseer trilogy, so it is Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb. I read the first book in this trilogy a couple of months ago, Assassin's Apprentice, and I know these books are well loved, but everybody kind of warned me going into it, oh, it's quite slow, stick with it, it's, you know, it's gonna pick up in the next book. I don't know what you were all talking about, lads, because I absolutely loved it. I love a character driven story, and I guess where people are coming from is that it doesn't maybe move as fast as other fantasy books. It's very character driven. We really get into the headspace of our main character Fitz, and maybe there aren't as many fast moving plot points in that book, but I just loved it. I really loved Fitz's affinity with animals. I loved where the story went. So If you're unaware, Fitz is the illegitimate son of a crown prince, and Fitz is at the age of maybe about 5 or 6. Don't quote me on that, he was quite young. He was dropped at the door of the keep of the castle by his grandfather, and his mother was there in the background. He doesn't really have any memories of his family from before being dropped at the castle, so he's taken into the castle not as the prince's son but as the prince's bastard. So he is mostly brought up in the stables with the animals and with some other characters. He really has an affinity for animals, he really loves these creatures, but he is eventually brought into the castle and trained as an assassin for the king, and the story progresses from there. I can't tell you how much I loved that book. It is written so well. Robin Hobb's writing is incredible. I'm really looking forward to getting back into this trilogy. I cannot tell you how excited I've been to read it, but just haven't quite gotten there yet. So this is another definite for this month. I'm so excited for it, and I just feel like it's the right time of year to read it as well. So that's that. So I have spoken to you about 8 books. I will not get to these 8 books, I would imagine, in October, and even at that I will probably pick and choose some others that are on my shelves or on my Kindle. I have quite a few actually kind of spooky books on my Kindle that I don't mention. I am mostly trying to get through my physical TBR where possible. Not always possible, not always easy, because as I've said time and time again, I'm a mood reader and I will read exactly what I want to read at any given time, which is why I'm currently in the middle of reading 4 books. It's going well. What are you planning to read for October? Are you, like me, a bit of a seasonal reader? Do you like to read books that are kind of set in or feel like they're set in the time of year that it currently is, or do you just read whatever, whenever? Chat to me in the comments, and if you'd like to leave a comment, maybe leave a little bat, the flying kind, or like a tennis racket bat, something like that. Your choice in the comments, just to let me know that you're here. It'd be lovely to chat with you. Thank you so much for watching as ever. I really appreciate you being here. I really hope that you have a lovely week, that you're minding yourself, and that of course you're minding each other. Take time to breathe and to do something that you really enjoy, and I'll talk to you very soon. Thanks for being here. Bye bye.